oracles of the UCI, beginning at 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it let him 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth, therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame, and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. We're going to deal with some things today. The title of today's sermon is The Direction of Torah. And what we have to do is understand that this is where we receive our instruction. We do not get our instruction based upon what other nations have done, what other nations have done wrong, even with the things that are written. If somebody else gets off into it and deals with it in an incorrect way, then that causes a lot of us to say, well, we're just going to stay away from this particular concept altogether. That is not how things are supposed to be done. We get our direction from the law of Yahweh, our Elohim, and that's what the Torah is. This is our instruction. So it does get down to the point that in some cases there's a little bit of confusion because you have to read in some places, several different places to get real direction on something. Whenever there is a rule, there are also exceptions. what you find amongst Israel is a lot of times we either want to push the rule or push the exception. And what we have to understand is those things have to go hand in hand. You deal with the rule and the exception, and that is what gives you the full understanding of Yahweh's law. During Bible study, we dealt with some things, and we got a comment, and we have that a lot because what happens is people don't really understand the rules and the exceptions that Yahweh then allows. There was a comment saying no cross tribe marrying. Y'all are going to be in trouble if y'all don't fix this before Yah. No outside marriages. By the third generation, you have removed the sacred blood of Israel and now have begotten another race. Y'all are wrong. All right, so this is what was written, but you have to understand, people are going based off the understanding that they have. We have to understand that Rahab was not Israel, yet she was married into the tribe of Yehudah. Ruth was a Moabite and was married into the tribe of Yehudah. These people are now listed in the lineage of Yahshua. Bathsheba was Hebrew who married away from Israel to marry Uriah, who is listed in this book as being a Hittite. But they both walked in culture. Uriah also was a mighty man of King David's army, and Yahweh showed his judgment in favor of Uriah by punishing King David for the rest of his life for the deeds that were done against him. So we somehow have gotten the rules of Israel, but because we get the rules from word of mouth from other individuals and not going into the rules ourselves, we don't understand that there are also exceptions that are in those rules, and we cannot deal with one without dealing with the other. Now, you can't ride in the exceptions because in that area you end up falling outside of the grace that is allowed within that exception. So let's begin today's sermon in Exodus chapter 6. See, I think sometimes we forget there are levels in dealing with that. A lot of times people will read in certain places and you hear the seriousness of outside marriage, and Yahweh is dealing with the priesthood specifically. He's dealing with the priesthood. Then what happens is people then take that and go on another level and apply all of that to every individual. But at the end of the day, marrying a heathen is still a heathen. Okay? So we have to understand all of that. And then understanding that in these days and times, you can get a natural bloodline Hebrew Israelite and still be married to a spiritual heathen. See, we have a lot of different levels that we have to deal with in these days and times that the children of Israel didn't have to deal with on that level. Either they were Israel or they're not. Now we have some that are so turned aside unto other nations, they will not even accept that they are Israel. So we have a lot of different levels in which that can be dealt with. Exodus chapter 6, and let's start that at verse 1. And there are also trivia questions that was emailed. I don't know if you guys probably not have gotten that yet here because they're probably still printing those out. But there are trivia questions for today. Go ahead, let's start Exodus 6 and start it at verse 1.
Then Yahweh said unto Moshe, Now shall you see what I will do to Pharaoh, for with a strong hand shall he let them go, and with a strong hand shall he drive them out of his land. And Elohim spake unto Moshe, and said unto him, I am Yahweh. And I appeared unto Abraham, unto Esaac, and to Jacob by the name of El Shaddai. But by my name Yahweh was I not known to them.
Right, so then in the beginning, even though we read these things, and in the beginning of the book, because he now knows the name of Yahweh, we then see all capital L-O-R-D. But in the beginning, what they knew was Elohim Almighty, which is El Shaddai. This is all that they knew at that particular time. So one thing this shows is that Yahweh deals with things in levels. See, the adversary of the devil want to tell you that if you don't know this by this time, that something is wrong. Yahweh was always dealing in levels. Always dealing in levels. Go ahead.
Verse 4.
Rael. Be still, boy. All right. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And I've also established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan, the land of their pilgrimage, wherein they were strangers. And I've also heard the groaning of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians keep in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant. Wherefore say unto the children of Israel, I am Yahweh, and I'll bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I'll rid you out of their bondage, and I'll redeem you with a stretched out arm and with great judgments. And I'll take you to me for a people, and I will be to you a Elohim, and you shall know that I am Yahweh your Elohim, which brings you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. And I'll bring you onto the land, concerning the which I did swear to give it to Abraham, to Esaac, and to Jacob, and I'll give it to you for an heritage. I am Yahweh. And Moshe spake so unto the children of Israel, but they hearkened not unto Moshe for anguish of spirit, and for cruel bondage. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Go in, speak unto Pharaoh king of Egypt, that he let the children of Israel go out of his land. And Moshe spoke before Yahweh, saying, Behold, the children of Israel have not hearkened unto me. How then shall Pharaoh hear me, who am of uncircumcised lips? And Yahweh spake unto Moshe and unto Aaron, and gave them a charge unto the children of Israel, and unto Pharaoh king of Egypt, to bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. These be the heads of their fathers' houses. The sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, Hanok, and Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. These be the families of Reuben. And the sons of Simeon, Yemuel, and Yamin, and Ohad, and Yakin, and Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanitish woman. These are the families of Simeon.
The son of a Canaanitish woman. Now, some would then want to say that it can't be Israel because it was the son of a Canaanitish woman. And what happens is you find that people don't really understand the law of Yahweh, our Elohim. We don't understand that the seed follows the male. Go ahead.
Verse 16. And these are the names of the sons of Levi, according to their generations, Gershon, and Kohath, and Merari. And the years of the life of Levi were 137 years.
Right. So then you have the foundation of the priesthood is laid with the sons of Aaron. But do understand, Moshe's sons were also blended in with the tribe of Levi. They were reckoned along with the tribe of Levi. But here is the foundation of the priesthood: Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Go ahead.
The sons of Gershon, Libni, and Shimei, according to their families. And the sons of Kohath, Amram, and Izhar, and Hebron, and Uzziel. And the years of the life of Kohath were 133 years.
Right. And there's a whole lot to say within the sons of Kohath. You're going to find the Kohath mentioned a lot. They just pronounce that part differently in other ethnicities, but that is one that you will hear a lot. Go ahead.
And the sons of Merari, Mahali, and Mushai. These are the families of Levi according to their generations. And Amram took him Jochebed, his father's sister, to wife, and she bare him Aaron and Moshe. And the years of the life of Amram were 137 years.
And if you notice, as we're going through this, it says the families of Israel, and it says she bare him Aaron and Moshe. Keep reading.
And the sons of Izhar, Korah, and Nepheg, and Zechariah.
Right. Now, you read about Aaron and Moshe. Because they're dealing with their lineage, they're just listing sons. We know that there was a sister there, Miriam. It didn't mention Miriam. Why? Because when you're dealing with lineage, she's going to be married off into somebody else's family. So her lineage is not necessary to list. Not that he does not care for women. It's that a woman will marry a man and become part of his family. Thus says Yahweh. He don't become a part of her. Now them soft brothers, that's what they do. They marry and then they become a part of the woman's lineage instead of, her becoming part of his. This is how this is written. This is how this was set up. That's the way this is. So he's not leaving out. This is why people get in the book and they say, well, where are the women at? As they're listing all these men, the women are going to marry. If he lists every woman in here, every time they marry, the lineage changes with them. There would be no end to this book. The man's line ain't going to change. The man has sons, the sons then marry, and so on and so on. So the line could be continued without breaks. All you got to do is curve the line according to wherever the man went. With a woman, every time she changes, or that woman, you're talking about 5, let's say there's 5 daughters. They marry 5, different men. That has split off 5 different times. And it keeps splitting if you follow the situation dealing with the female, because she attaches to a male and attaches to his family. That's something that basis has to be understood, or when we start dealing with these things, people are getting lost because they don't understand that concept. Go ahead.
I mean, that basis still goes to today when they do this conventional marriage. The woman takes the man's last name until we got this newfound thing of this hyphenated last name.
Right. And that's normally you don't find that until, the people say, my last name is more important than yours. So I'm a doctor, saying you just wash cars. So, go ahead.
Verse 22. And the sons of Uzziel, Mishael, and Elzaphan, and Zithri. And Aaron took him Elisheba, daughter of Amminadab, sister of Nahashon, to wife. And she bare him Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar. And the sons of Korah, Asher, and Elkanah, and Abasaph. These are the families of the Korhites. And Eleazar, Aaron's son, took him one of the daughters of Petuel to wife.
Mm-hmm.
And she bare him Phinehas. These are the heads of the fathers of the Levites according to their families.
Right. A lot of times you can read the lineage and deal with the 12 tribes of Israel. You know how many people that don't know that Dinah, their sister, is even there? Mm-hmm. They don't even know that there is a Dinah in the 12, among those 12 sons. They don't even know that there's a daughter there. And these are people that walk around and proclaim themselves to be Israel, have no idea that there's a daughter there. You got to imagine what her life, had to be like, being around all these boys and watching how they, reacted, and this is what that mainly probably got her in trouble. She said, I want to go see how the women of the nations live. And went out and one of those brothers saw and said, I've never seen anything so beautiful. I must have it. But he didn't wait for courting. He didn't wait for none of that. He said, I got to have it now. There's people that don't even know that there is a sister there, because you keep reading over and over and they see the men, because that's the way the lineage goes. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 6 and verse 26. These are that Aaron and Moshe, to whom Yahweh said, bring out the children of Israel from the land of Egypt according to their armies. These are they which spake to Pharaoh king of Egypt, to bring out the children of Israel from Egypt. These are that Moshe and Aaron. And it came to pass on the day when Yahweh spake unto Moshe in the land of Egypt, that Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, I am Yahweh. Speak you unto Pharaoh king of Egypt all that I say unto you. And Moshe said before Yahweh, Behold, I am of uncircumcised lips, and how shall Pharaoh hearken unto me?
Right. Of course, he is afraid to go back into that area because of all of the things that has taken place. Let's go to Exodus chapter 32. Exodus chapter 32, and we're going to start that at verse 1. And you can understand why he would be shaken up. Not even that Yahweh is, I mean, it's already scary that Yahweh has called you to go to, speak to this person who calls himself a man God. There's already a problem there. But then to have all of the other things connected to what he did, leaving out of there, add some more fear to that process. Exodus 32, and let's start that at verse 1.
And when the people saw that Moshe delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron, and said unto him, Up, make us gods which shall go before us. For as for this Moshe, the man that brought us out of the land of Egypt, we know not what is become of him. And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me.
So the children of Israel have made gods out of the earrings that were in the ears of the wives, the sons, and the daughters. So they all had earrings. So, and this is another one of those things where you hear things, because I end up, I wear earrings sometimes, but I go out, take them out and leave them out, and they may not go in for another month. For at whatever time I had something in, and a woman ended up leaving a comment, I don't understand you effeminate men who are wearing earrings. Why would you wear earrings? See, what you don't understand is the culture of Israel, period. They didn't. This is where they got the gold to even make the calf, from the earrings, not just from the women. It said all of them had those in. But see, people don't really understand it. So not understanding the basis from something, we start then leaning to our own understanding, and then coming up with these thought processes that we have made out of the things that we think, feel, and believe. And at the end of the day, Yahweh don't care nothing about what you think, feel, and believe. What he care about is what he has jotted down. Go ahead.
Also saw a leader of a Israelite congregation, who's got congregations all across the world, on one of his things yelling out, Take the Midianitish earrings out your ear. Take the Midianitish earrings out your ear.
Wow. Interesting, brother. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And all the people brake off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron.
And first of all, this is the sign of a servant. That's what people don't, first of all, understand. Israel are perpetual servants unto Yahweh. See, there's a whole line of things that we don't understand because we keep dealing with word of mouth and somebody else's word of mouth. And we look, well, they sound like they know what they're talking about. Look at, they said it with zeal. Right. Zeal gonna get us killed. Go ahead, brother.
And he received them at their hand, and fashioned them with a graving tool, after he had made a molten calf. And they said, These be your gods, O Israel, which brought you up out of the land of Egypt. And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made proclamation and said, Tomorrow is a feast to Yahweh.
Now, by all practical purposes, Aaron should have been dead. I mean, he made the golden calf. Then he built an altar. Then he proclaimed that those were the gods that brought them out of Egypt. There is so much here. We have to consider the great mercy that Yahweh has bestowed upon us. Because if we look back now, some of us, we got that selective amnesia, so we don't remember all of the things that we've done, especially the foul parts. But there are some things that we have done that we probably shouldn't have passed that day. See, if you continue to throw that out of your mind, you don't understand what kind of dedication you should have to Yahweh. Because it's more convenient for us to throw that away. But it's in those things that you find where your zeal for Elohim should be. See, that's the difference between, you may find one person that's just working, doing all kind of stuff. Why? Because they remember the past life they had. Another person that's sitting off in the corner, waiting for everything, waiting for this. What you doing? They don't remember their past life. They flip that switch. But you're going to remember it sooner or later. Because Yahweh going to bring every idle word back to our remembrance. And better than HD. So you're going to see yourself. It would help us to have something to add to that. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 32 and verse 6. And they rose up early on the morrow and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and to drink and rose up to play.
So Aaron also proclaimed a feast to Yahweh in the name of a pagan god, in the image of a pagan god, on an altar built for a pagan god. And then they ate and they rose up to play. Now there's a lot in that word play that we just gonna keep on reading past. We just gonna keep on going. Go ahead, brother.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Go, get you down, for your people, which you brought up out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves.
Now understand, what they're doing is they are worshiping Egyptian gods, and they're doing it in the same way that Egypt did their gods. So when you understand what they're doing, they're mimicking the things that they have seen. So at this point already, they have merged the belief of Yahweh with the practices of the Egyptian gods. And understand, there were many, many Egyptian gods. Understand, Pharaoh was supposed to be a god himself. So you got to understand how deep this play had to go. They have gods of fertility. They got gods of love. They got gods of everything. They got sun god, moon god. They got food gods. They got all kind of gods. And they have now merged all that into a nice little play session. Read, man.
They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf, and have worshipped it, and have sacrificed thereunto, and said, These be your gods of Israel.
Plural. Gods. Egypt didn't worship one God. Go ahead.
Which have brought you up out of the land of Egypt. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people.
Right, we do the same thing. Come out of Christianity. When I came out of Christianity, man, my sister sent me a picture of the day me and her met. And I didn't grow up with my sister. So when we met each other, I was grown. And I had on several gold chains, crosses, all kind of stuff. I laughed when I seen the picture, because I had a few gold chains. I got rid of all that stuff. When I understood who Yahweh was and what I was to be, I got rid of everything that I knew that was associated with the paganistic past life. When you get down to it, when it starts talking about the stiff-necked Israel, watch. You have folks that claim that they Hebrew and been Hebrew for years. Walk off into their house and see Egyptian gods, Christian gods. You see all manner of gods spread out all along the house, and they supposed to have been Hebrew. Stiff-necked. They're not going to let that stuff go. Oh, I started all kind of fights when I got into this word. I'm in the word, of course, I'm in the word by myself. I started, I got rid of that Christmas tree. It was a fight. It was decorations on there that was family heirlooms. We made those. Well, they're heirlooming right in the trash. Because they getting the hell out of here. Not discussing it. Now, trash man come on Tuesday around 2 o'clock. You can hug it until then. You can stay right out there and just squeeze tight. But at 2 o'clock when he get here, it's getting the hell away from this residence. Take it or leave it, platter or weave it. I am not negotiating with certain things. There's certain things I negotiate. I don't give a damn what color this house is painted. I don't give a damn what the drapes look like. But I tell you what, all them pagan gods getting the hell out of here. Not a negotiation. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 10. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may wax hot against them, and that I may consume them, and I'll make you a great nation. And Moshe besought Yahweh his Elohim and said, Yahweh, why does your wrath wax hot against your people?
So Yahweh was ready. We talk all of this about the 12 tribes of Israel. And Yahweh was ready to kill off every last one of them. Somehow we missed that. And then we have to ask ourselves, while we into our magnification of self, how is Yahweh going to give him 12 tribes of Moshe? You ever consider that? Like, was he going to bring, because at this point, he ain't no young man. So he's got to then produce him 12 heirs. So you think he going to wait and do that again with 4 different women? No, he going to have to expedite that thing. Yahweh ain't have no problem doing it. No, man, step aside. I'm finna kill all them. And I'm finna make 12 tribes of you. We don't consider that when we get ready to get in our tribal breakdown parties. Go ahead.
And Moshe besought Yahweh his Elohim and said, Yahweh, why does your wrath wax hot against your people, which you have brought forth out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand? Wherefore should the Egyptians speak and say, for mischief did he bring them out, to slay them in the mountains and to consume them from the face of the earth?
Mm-hmm.
Turn from your fierce wrath and repent of this evil against your people.
Now, you know you got to have a certain place with Yahweh to ask Yahweh to repent. You know, Yahweh, why you doing it? Repent from that. You ask the Elohim of all heaven and earth and all that in them is to repent. I don't advise you to try this at home, okay? There are certain things that we're in the generation of, DIY. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Because we go to YouTube University. You know what I'm saying? So we go to YouTube University. We say, you know what? I'm not a rocket scientist, but damn it, I've seen one on YouTube. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to watch this video, and I'm going to mix this rocket fuel. And you just be looking in the neighbor house, just lift off the ground, you know what I'm saying? Because he done made one wrong mixture because he skipped that video too fast. You know what I'm saying? It was something, you got to be real detailed when you go to YouTube University. And you have to learn that you got to sometimes watch some different things to make sure, hey, if this is something that could get you killed, you might want to be careful on just accepting that information like that. See? What has really gotten dangerous is DIY salvation. See that has gotten real dangerous because you got a lot of DIYers as it pertains to salvation. They're gonna get their salvation, but they're gonna do it themselves. See, I'm gonna work out my own salvation myself. I got YouTube and duct tape. Well, congratulations. I don't know how that's gonna turn out, but hey, all right, good luck. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 13. Remember Abraham, Esaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you sweareth by your own self, and said unto them, I'll multiply your seed as the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have spoken of will I give unto your seed, and they shall inherit it forever. And Yahweh repented of the evil which he thought to do unto his people.
Now that right there automatically should set Moshe apart from any and every prophet, any and every servant, everything, because he was able to talk to Yahweh and get Yahweh to back up on what he was about to do. This is also not just a lesson for that. This is a lesson for the men of Israel. Do we get to a point that we're so strong that even when a woman comes with a clearer understanding of something, are you so strong and manly that you don't allow her to convince you to step back? There's absolutely nothing stronger than Yahweh. Moshe is not stronger than Yahweh. Yet a weaker entity was able to convince Yahweh that what he was about to do was not in the best interest of even his great and glorious name. And Yahweh backed up. Are we so manly that if our woman come to us and say, this what you're doing is not right? Shut up, woman, I'm the man. I'm manly. You say, you smell that? That's man funk. Right. Read, bro.
And Moshe turned and went down from the mount. And the 2 tables of the testimony were in his hand. The tables were written on both their sides. On the one side and on the other were they written. And the tables were the work of Elohim, and the writing was the writing of Elohim, graven upon the tables. And when Yahshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said unto Moshe, there's a noise of war in the camp.
Right, and Yahshua is being trained at this point because he thinks this is war. He thinks the people are being hurt. Go ahead.
And he said, it is not the voice of them that shout for mastery, neither is it the voice of them that cry for being overcome, but the noise of them that sing do I hear. And it came to pass, as soon as he came near unto the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing, and Moshe's anger waxed hot, and he cast the tables out of his hands and brake them beneath the mount.
Okay, stop. There's certain things that happen that are not necessarily good things, but they are exactly the direction that Yahweh wanted them to take. Oh, Moshe was supposed to get ticked off. See, sometimes you'll look and you'll say, man, he got angry. That was not a good thing. Oh, no, Yahweh's standing right behind this anger right now. No, you should be real ticked off right now. Because he's standing in Yahweh's stead. See, had he just let Yahweh do it, they would all be dead. And I mean all of them. Okay? So now, who has the right to be angry other than the one who stood in the breach to keep them all from dying? He would have came down the hill to a bunch of dead people. But he stood in the breach for that. So when he gets down there and sees it himself, he has the right to be upset. He just put his life on the line for them. Go ahead.
And he took the calf which they had made and burned it in the fire, and ground it to powder, and strawed it upon the water, and made the children of Israel drink of it.
Yeah, Moshe wasn't no punk. Moshe wasn't no punk. Are you gonna burn something, grind it to powder, and then make them drink it? You talking about some murmuring. There's some people that was real ticked off about that. They didn't care. Go ahead.
And Moshe said unto Aaron, what did this people unto you, that you have brought so great a sin upon them? And Aaron said, let not the anger of my master wax hot. You know the people, that they're set on mischief. For they said unto me, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moshe, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we know not what is become of him. And I said unto them, whosoever has any gold, let them break it off. So they gave it me. Then I cast it into the fire, and there came out this calf.
Now you understand why somebody had to be over Aaron. The people, if they push hard enough, they would direct Aaron. See, he had too much connection with the people. See, he grew up with these people. So he's concerned with all their wants, wishes, and desires. See, there's enough separation that Yahweh put into something so that things will go correctly. Sometimes familiarity breeds contempt. These people are familiar with Aaron, and they will, to get him to do what they want him to do, they'll mention every bad thing he's ever done. Same thing your family gonna do to you. Well, now you want to cover your head, huh? I remember a day you didn't cover your tail. Go ahead, bro.
And you know, there was enough separation between Moshe and Aaron that there was not that respect the person, being that Aaron is his older brother.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't grow up together where
Right.
he was, all right, man, I hear you. It's
Right.
okay. We'll take care of it.
Right. Yahweh was doing some things in causing that separation. So that when it was time to take care of business, Moshe took care of that business. Even when it hurt somebody's feelings. Go ahead.
And when Moshe saw that the people were naked, for Aaron had made them naked unto their shame among their enemies, then Moshe stood in the gate of the camp and said, who is on Yahweh's side? Let him come unto me. And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together unto him.
Right. It would have been, see, this is how something happened in stages. Who is on Yahweh's side? All them gathered then to Moshe. But now they got to prove that they on Yahweh's side. Go ahead.
And he said unto them, thus says Yahweh Elohim of Israel, put every man his sword by his side, and go in and out from gate to gate throughout the camp, and slay every man his brother, and every man his companion, and every man his neighbor.
Mm-hmm. This is a sacrifice. See? Blood is being shed because of the great amount of sin that was just committed amongst all of these children of Israel. Go ahead.
And the children of Levi did according to the word of Moshe. And there fell of the people that day about 3,000 men.
Right. But that's a far cry from all of them. Go ahead.
For Moshe had said, consecrate yourselves today for Yahweh, even every man upon his son and upon his brother, that he may bestow upon you a blessing this day. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moshe said unto the people, you have sinned a great sin, and now I will go up unto Yahweh. Peradventure, I shall make an atonement for your sin.
Uh-huh.
And Moshe returned unto Yahweh and said, oh, this people have sinned a great sin, and have made them gods of gold. Yet now, if you will forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray you, out of your book which you have written.
Now you see his desire to want to be there for a people he never grew up with. He was always estranged from. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, whosoever has sinned against me, him will I blot out of my book. Therefore now go, lead the people unto the place of which I have spoken unto you. Behold, mine angel shall go before you. Nevertheless, in the day when I will visit their sin upon them.
Right. So he just put a pause on it. See, that's the kind of things that Yahweh does. So here with the 3,000 dead, that just stops the immediate thing. He still say, in the day that I visit them, I'm going to take care of that business. So there's things that we think, oh, it's done. And Yahweh just pausing. He going to finish that with you later. Go ahead.
And Yahweh plagued the people because they made the calf which Aaron made.
All right, let's go to our Deuteronomy chapter 21. So we then have the foundation of that. So from the beginning, Israel has this issue. Deuteronomy 21 and let's see, let's read verses 22 and 23.
And if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be to be put to death, and you hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but you shall in any wise bury him that day. For he that is hanged is a cursed of Elohim.
Right. So you have to first of all understand how what this does and what this shows with the true children of Israel. A man that is hanged on a tree is accursed of Elohim. Go ahead.
That your land be not defiled, which Yahweh Elohim gives you for an inheritance.
Right. So if someone is to be punished and they are hanged on a tree, the body shall not remain all night upon a tree. Now consider the things that were done here in America. As they hung our people on trees, they specifically and purposely left them there. as a warning to anybody else who would be disobedient. Then look at what else it did. It says that your land be not defiled. Think about how America defiled herself by hanging the children of Israel and then leaving them on those very trees. And sooner or later, the judgment of her dealings has to return onto her because she has defiled her land many times over. Many, many times over. But this also gives us a connection that the children of Israel have also with the Mashiach. Go to the next thing here. Let's go to Acts chapter 5. So that we can see also this connection with the children of Israel. You know, every time one of those people ended up saying that, you know, black people are the children of Israel, then you get one of the Jewish people, I will invite you to the Auschwitz death camp. Well, I'm going to invite you to some southern trees, and I want you to look at these limbs. All right? Now, the problem is, I can go in this book and find where my punishment was going to be, because it says the curse of Israel. You have blessings, you have curses. All right? The curse of Israel, these things happen to us. Now, I can't find Auschwitz or death camp anywhere in this book. But I can find the things that were written about the children of Israel, and I can connect those unto the things that happened with me and my people. So, you first, I go to your Auschwitz death camp. Then we're going to go down here to the south, and we're going to look at some of these trees. Go ahead.
Acts chapter 5 and verse 17. Then the high priest rose up, and all that they were with him, which is the sect of the Sadducees, and were filled with indignation, and laid their hands on the apostles, and put them in the common prison. But the angel of the Adonai by night opened the prison doors, and brought them forth, and said, Go stand and speak in the temple to the people all the words of this life. And when they heard that, they entered into the temple early in the morning, and taught. But the high priest came, and they that were with him, and called the council together, and all the senate of the children of Israel, and sent to the prison to have them brought. But when the officers came, and found them not in the prison, they returned and told, saying, The prison truly found we shut with all safety, and the keepers standing without before the doors, but when we had opened, we found no man within. Now when the high priest and the captain of the temple and the chief priests heard these things, they doubted of them whereunto this would grow.
Now, you see what they worried about? They just worried about if people going to find out that they locked these people up and now they're not in the jail. They're not really concerned or dealing with the miracle itself. They're really concerned about how many people going to find out about this. Go ahead.
Then came one and told them, saying, Behold, the men whom you put in prison are standing in the temple and teaching the people.
It done got out. Go ahead.
Then went the captain with the officers and brought them without violence, for they feared the people, lest they should have been stoned.
Right. See, doing that in the presence of everybody was their power. That gave them a certain amount of protection. So now they don't even want to deal too harshly with them because they got to explain how they get out of jail. We watched you lock them up. How they get out, and then when they get out, they didn't just go, hey, you lock a brother up, he get out. You ain't seeing him no more. All right? Yo, that he taking every back street. He out of here. They go back to the place where everybody's going to know that they have gotten out. They go to the temple. That is not the place you go when you're trying to hide. Go ahead.
And when they had brought them, they set them before the council, and the high priest asked them, saying, Did not we straitly command you that you should not teach in this name? And behold, you have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine, and intend to bring this man's blood upon us.
Now you see the first thing, did not we straitly command you not to teach in this name? My first question would have been, how the hell y'all get out? You see what happened when you blindly about what you want to be about that you skip like the most obvious question? How you get out? That would have been question numero uno. We need to discuss this here. How y'all get out? So that was talk. We need to talk about, we're going to talk about that as soon as they explain to me how they got out. Because had they then said, an angel of Elohim opened the doors and told us come out and told us what to do. That now influences my next question. So angel of Elohim let you out? Yeah. So what's your next question, sir? Nothing. I'm done. That's pretty much it for me. Y'all let them go. I'm definitely on the wrong side. Go ahead.
And Cephas and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey Elohim rather than men. The Elohim of our fathers raised up Yahshua, whom you slew and hanged on a tree.
Whom you slew and hanged on a tree. And because all we get is the picture of the cross, there's more to that. That they had to carry the top part of what would be the cross. The other parts was already set there as far as this tree as the root, or either something stuck in the ground. But bottom line is they were hanged on a piece of wood. Our people suffer the same thing. And then even to this day, they keep finding miscellaneous brothers hanging from trees. And apparently they want to commit suicide in the darkness of night with nobody around, in public places. Whole lot of that don't make no sense. But see, that's the sign of a cursed people. How many Jewish you found hanging? I mean, you might find a few, the accountant who they just found out the $50 million they got in his account that wasn't supposed to be in there. You might find a hanging with a necktie, you know what I'm saying, or something, But that's not normal stuff. Go ahead.
Verse 31. Him has Elohim exalted with his right hand to be a prince and savior, for to give repentance to Israel and forgiveness of sins. And we are his witnesses of these things.
Mm-hmm. We are his witnesses. Israel are the witnesses of Yahweh. So I don't know what a Jehovah's Witness is. He constantly says, Israel, you are my witness. Israel was the only one that stood at the mount. So I don't know what a Jehovah's Witness. Go ahead.
And so is also the Holy Spirit, whom Elohim has given to them that obey him. When they heard that, they were cut to the heart and took counsel to slay them.
When they heard that, they were cut to the heart. Go to the next graphic, brother. And I want you to read what's written in Acts chapter 10 and verse 39.
Acts chapter 10 and verse 39. And we are witnesses of all things which he did both in the land of the Yehudis and in Jerusalem, whom they slew and hanged on a tree. Acts chapter 10 and verse 40. Him Elohim raised up the third day and showed him openly, not to all the people, but unto witnesses chosen before of Elohim, even to us, whom did eat and drink with him after he rose from the dead.
All right, go to the next graphic, Galatians 3 and verse 13, and read that.
Yahshua has redeemed us from the curse of the law.
And this is something that you will hear all the time, but it's the back part of this that you're not going to hear. Go ahead.
Being made a curse for us, for it is written, cursed is everyone that hangs on a tree.
Right. So the very ones who was hanging up, do understand that the biggest picture of a public hanging, you find the Gentiles in their suit and ties as the person is hanging. That was right outside their church. They had just had church service and went and had them a public hanging, and they posing for the picture. Now, we didn't get this picture because we did some kind of diligent search. They posted it because they were proud of it at the time. Now let's go to Numbers chapter 35. See, this gives us a connection to Yahshua that people don't want to deal with. See, we always deal with the part of the connection about the color of the feet and the woolly hair. Now let's start dealing with this connection of the being hanged on a tree. See, and people want to invite you to death camps because they can't make their correlation out of things that are in this book. So they got to activate some kind of sympathy to make their correlation as being the children of Israel. Numbers 35, and let's start that at verse 1.
You know, brothers, you talking about the correlation, and I don't think if anybody has realized that this is all now coming on the tail end of the Black Lives Matter movement was getting so much publicity that all of a sudden now we got, in 1 month, anti-Semitism coming from 4 high-known black individuals just to shut all the Black Lives Matter press down.
How convenient. I told people sooner or later something was going to happen to the Jewish people. Didn't I tell you that? I told y'all before, I said sooner or later, because they can't let sympathy go to nobody else. They have to get the sympathy card 24/7. Anytime we say something, we bringing up old parts of the past. But they can bring up Auschwitz death camp as many times as they can say Auschwitz. They can keep on bringing it up. And nobody accuses them of pulling out any old happenings to justify something. I knew it was going to show up sooner or later, because this is their claim and push to who they are as a people. It is all connected to everyone having sympathy, to the point that they've passed laws and trying to pass even more laws that if you speak against anything Jewish, that you should lose your funding, you should lose all types of things. You have people that were given contracts asked to sign it that they would not boycott Israel. We're talking about people who like teachers and stuff. What does that have to do? They live in America. Well, why would they have to sign? They don't have to sign a contract to pledge allegiance to America, but they have to sign a contract to pledge allegiance to Israel? How did anybody allow that to be made law? And those are very ones that's finna set this country up to be destroyed. Go ahead, bro.
Numbers chapter 35 and verse 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, Command the children of Israel that they give unto the Levites of the inheritance of their possession cities to dwell in. And you shall give also unto the Levites suburbs for the cities round about them. And the cities shall they have to dwell in. And the suburbs of them shall be for their cattle and for their goods and for all their beasts.
So then we understand that with all of this land that the children of Israel were set to inherit, none of that had anything to do with the Levites. They would then be spread out among the people. So then you have to some things have to come to your mind, especially when you have people that say everyone must stay with the tribe of who they are. You then have to ask yourself a question: what happens with Levi? Because Levi is spread out among every last one of those tribes. And I don't think that's not how, it's given unto us. When we just consider, we say, hey, it's a temple, and we think of one temple. But you got to think about if they had one temple in the whole United States. Okay, how they going to get to a priest? So there's some things that we have to consider. Go ahead, brother.
And the suburbs of the cities which you shall give unto the Levites shall reach from the wall of the city and outward 1,000 cubits round about. And you shall measure from without the city on the east side 2,000 cubits, and on the south side 2,000 cubits, and on the west side 2,000 cubits, and on the north side 2,000 cubits. And the city shall be in the midst. This shall be to them the suburbs of the cities. And among the cities which you shall give unto the Levites, there shall be 6 cities for refuge, which you shall appoint for the manslayer, that he may flee thither, and to them you shall add 42 cities.
So then the cities of refuge then were then cities of the priests. Go ahead.
And the cities which you shall give shall be of the possession of the children of Israel. From them that have many you shall give many, but from them that have few you shall give few. Everyone shall give of his cities unto the Levites according to his inheritance which he inherit. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you be come over Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall appoint you cities to be cities of refuge for you, that the slayer may flee thither, which kills any person at unawares.
Unawares. This is for accidental murders. This is not a place where killers go to hang out. That is not what this is. Go ahead.
And they shall be unto you cities for refuge from the avenger, that the manslayer die not, until he stand before the congregation in judgment. And of these cities which you shall give 6 cities shall you have for refuge. You shall give 3 cities on this side Jordan, and 3 cities shall you give in the land of Canaan, which shall be cities of refuge. These 6 cities shall be a refuge, both for the children of Israel, and for the stranger, and for the sojourner among them, that every one that kills any persons unawares may flee thither.
Any person that kills somewhere and that was not their intention. Go ahead.
And if he smite him with an instrument of iron, so that he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. And if he smite him with throwing a stone, wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death.
Right. These people are not eligible to go to the city of refuge. Okay? Let's not get it twisted. Because if you don't understand that part of the law, somebody then asks you, hey man, help me get to the city of refuge. I killed a man. Was it on purpose? Yes. Well, I ain't taking you there. Go ahead.
Or if he smite him with an hand weapon of wood, wherewith he die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. The revenger of blood himself shall slay the murderer. When he meets him, he shall slay him. But if he thrust him of hatred, or hurl at him by lying of weight, that he die, or in enmity smite him with his hand, that he die, he that smote him shall surely be put to death, for he is a murderer. The revenger of blood shall slay the murderer when he meets him. But if he thrust him suddenly without enmity, or have cast upon him anything without laying of weight, or with any stone wherewith a man may die, seeing him not, and cast it upon him, that he die, and was not his enemy, neither sought his harm, then the congregation shall judge between the slayer and the revenger of blood according to these judgments. And the congregation shall deliver the slayer out of the hand of the revenger of blood, and the congregation shall restore him to the city of his refuge, where he was fled. And he shall abide in it unto the death of the high priest, which was anointed with the holy oil.
Right. So even in an accidental murder, that person has to leave. He can't stay in that place, or the family of that individual is going to, seek revenge for the thing that was done. He got to go live somewhere else. Now, because it was an accident, see, people will say, well, it was an accident. I didn't mean to do it. All right. But you got to go away from him. Because if he keeps seeing you every day knowing that you murdered his kinfolk, there's about to be some problems. So even if it was an accident, you got to go live in the city of refuge, and you're going to be there for a while to the death of the high priest. Go ahead.
But if the slayer shall at any time come without the border of the city of his refuge, whether he was fled, and the revenger of blood find him without the borders of the city of his refuge, and the revenger of blood kill the slayer, he shall not be guilty of blood.
See, this is all about understanding the law of Yahweh your Elohim. Because they say, hey man, how was you able, you killed him and he was in the city of refuge. Yeah, but he came out. Know that hedge of protection that we always be praying about? Then we go and do something and go outside the hedge. Then we go back and tell Yahweh what Lucifer did to us. Then Yahweh's question is, what was you doing outside the hedge? You made yourself fair game for him. Go ahead.
And, you know, even when you think about the avenger of blood, they don't understand the fury that builds up when these cops kill a brother or sister in the street and then gets to go right back on the beat in the same area.
In the same area. After he has got a paid vacation. Paid vacation. And then go right back to the same place and they got to look at the same dude. And this is friends and family who have lost individuals of their family and see the same person that took their life riding down the street. Go ahead.
Verse 28, because he should have remained in the city of his refuge until the death of the high priest. But after the death of the high priest, the slayer shall return into the land of his possession. So these things shall be for a statute of judgment unto you throughout your generations in all your dwellings. Whoso kills any person, the murderer shall be put to death by the mouth of witnesses. But one witness shall not testify against any person to cause him to die.
Right, because we know Israel lie. I mean, and some of us have been practicing lying for years. If we turn around and let everybody's life be set on one person's story, it would be a whole lot of death. So Yahweh already know, no, we're not going to let one person deal with that. But one thing we do see, that there is a death penalty in Yahweh's law. But it has to be dealt with in a righteous manner. See, in the land of the daughter of Babylon, they don't deal with their judgment right at all. Two people can commit the same act. One of them got 10 years in prison, the other one get 50 years in prison. Or one of them get probation and the other one got the death penalty. Same crime. Go ahead.
Moreover, you shall take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer, which is guilty of death, but he shall be surely put to death. And you shall take no satisfaction for him that is fled to the city of his refuge, that he should come again to dwell in the land until the death of the priest.
You shall take no satisfaction. In other words, you shall not hear any story that allows you to be lenient toward that individual. Well, you know, my mama is real sick, and I want to go see my mama. Sound like a plan. But if Mr. Man over there catch you and he kill you, it is what it is. You know what the law is. You go there and see your mama you want to. Go ahead.
Verse 33. So you shall not pollute the land wherein you are, for the blood, it defiles the land. And the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it.
And that's something that we have to remember. So there's a whole lot of things that has to happen. Yahweh, this great valley that's supposed to be set for this war that Yahweh is going to wage, there's a reason why all of the earth has to send, all of those nations have to get together and send their representatives. The earth can only be cleansed by the shedding of blood of those who have defiled it. This is what cleanses the land. So I possess the same question. Will you be one of those whose blood will be shed to cleanse the earth? or will you be one of those that get to live on a cleansed earth? Go ahead, bro.
Defile not therefore the land which you shall inhabit, wherein I dwell, for I Yahweh dwell among the children of Israel.
All right. Let's go to Judges chapter 2. Judges chapter 2, and let's read verses 16. Well, let's start it at verse 16, and we're going to go through chapter 3 and verse 9.
Judges chapter 2 and verse 16. Nevertheless, Yahweh raised up judges, which delivered them out of the hand of those that spoiled them. And yet they would not hearken unto their judges, but they went a-whoring after other gods, and bowed themselves unto them. They turned quickly out of the way which their fathers walked in, obeying the commandments of Yah, but they did not so. And when Yahweh raised them up judges, then Yahweh was with the judge, and delivered them out of the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For it repented Yahweh because of their groanings by reason of them that oppressed them and vexed them.
It repented Yahweh because of their groanings by reason of them that oppressed them and vexed them. So Yahweh got tired of hearing us whine. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, when the judge was dead, that they returned and corrupted themselves more than their fathers, in following other gods to serve them, and to bow down unto them. They ceased not from their own doings, nor from their stubborn way.
This entire book of Judges is a constant series of captivities because of disobedience. This is also something that can be listed whenever someone says, I'm going to take you to one of the Auschwitz death camp, and I can show you all of the things that we have gone through as a people. The problem, this entire book talks about the disobedience of Israel, and in each one of them, they go into another captivity. So when people just talk about an Egyptian captivity, we have many, many captivities. We only talk about one, and people list that. This entire book is listed captivity after captivity after captivity. What does this do? This makes another correlation between you being the children of Israel that other people cannot make. And they know they can't make it. So whenever they're trying to prove themselves, you notice that it is something outside of the Torah. Nobody's noticing that. I'm going to take you to a death camp. No, don't take me. Take me to a verse. Take me to a verse. Don't take me to a death camp. Take me to open the book. You told me, that you speak Hebrew and you do all of this, and that's supposed to validate you. Show me a verse. Show me a book. Let's go inside this book. They can't do it inside the book. So they got to talk to you outside of the book. And we fall for the trick. We having a conversation outside the book. I'll let them take me there. But then I'm still going to talk out of the book when I get there. Go ahead.
You see the heading over verse 20. I find that to be quite funny. The results of Israel's incomplete obedience.
Mm-hmm.
What would Saul say? I did it. I listened to everything he said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Verse 20. And the anger of Yahweh was hot against Israel. And he said, because that this people has transgressed my covenant which I command their fathers, and have not hearkened unto my voice, I also will not henceforth drive out any from before them of the nations which Yahshua left when he died.
Right. So now he's purposely leaving nations to see what Israel's going to do. Go ahead.
That through them I may prove Israel, whether they will keep the way of Yahweh to walk therein, as their fathers did keep it, or not. Therefore Yahweh left those nations without driving them out hastily, neither delivered he them into the hand of Yahshua. Now these are the nations which Yahweh left, to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel as had not known all the wars of Canaan.
See, this also gives you a vision of what happens when things are above what you have power over. Verse 23, therefore Yahweh left those nations without driving them out hastily, neither delivered he them into the hand of Joshua. Joshua was not able to overcome them. Didn't have anything to do with Joshua. There's no question about Joshua's servitude. There's no question about his obedience unto Yahweh. He was not able to defeat these people, not because of anything he did or didn't do. He could not defeat them because Yahweh wanted to leave them, because he watched how disobedient the children of Israel became every time they got around other people. And y'all see it? You be at work and there's a co-worker that's cool with you until the manager showed up. And they turned into a whole nother person. You're like, what just happened to him? Yeah, his other person came out. Wow. How many people you got in there? Go ahead.
Only that the generations of the children of Israel might know, to teach them war, at the least such as before knew nothing thereof. Namely, 5 masters of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the Sidonians, and the Hivites that dwelt in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon unto the entering in of Hamath. And they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of Yahweh, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moshe.
Right. And there are certain situations that Yahweh allows to happen among us to see if we're going to follow his commandments or not. Go ahead.
And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, Hittites, and Amorites, and Perizzites, and Hivites, and Jebusites. And they took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their gods.
And here is the real problem. They took their daughters to be their wives, they gave their daughters to their sons, and served their gods. See, Israel somehow does not have the ability to maintain the right spiritual order in the house. See, we go unto the other nations and then we mimic what they do, instead of making sure that the nations do what we do. Go ahead.
And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of Yahweh, and forgot Yahweh their Elohim, and served Baalim and the groves. Therefore the anger of Yahweh was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of Cushan-Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia. And the children of Israel served Cushan-Rishathaim 8 years. And when the children of Israel cried unto Yahweh, Yahweh raised up a deliverer to the children of Israel, who delivered them, even Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother.
Right. And you find that this process goes on over and over and over again. Israel would obey as long as the judge was on the earth. Soon as the judge died, we went right back to the stuff that we were doing before. But this entire book of Judges proves how Yahweh disciplines the children of Israel. Not anywhere in the many chapters in this book do we find a death camp. That was not one of his punishments, but one that he used constantly was captivity, aka slavery. So that method of punishment that people use to justify who they are, maybe you need to look in Lucifer's book, because we can't find that in this one. Let's go to Numbers chapter 25. Because my God didn't talk about that's what he was going to do to his people. If you don't do it, I'm going to put you in a furnace. I'm going to put you in the death camp. I don't find any of that. Then they tell you, these people who say that they are the people of the book, they tell you it don't matter that you can find slavery in the book. Hold on. You the people of the book, and it don't matter if we can't find the most traumatic experience that you've encountered in the book, but you're the people of the book. That's some strange communication. What you should be able to find is a traumatic event that explains something about who you are if you claim to be the people of the book. Go ahead, bro.
Numbers chapter 25 and verse 1. And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. And the people did eat and bowed down to their gods. And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor, and the anger of Yahweh was kindled against Israel.
And you're gonna find that the situations of Moab, man, Israel had a lot of issues going back and forth. And understand, this would have been family, because these are descendants of Lot, who was raised with Abraham. So Yahweh don't care nothing about that family line. There's some of that he wants you completely separated, because all they're going to do is keep you in some mess. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, take all the heads of the people, and hang them up before Yahweh against the sun, that the fierce anger of Yahweh may be turned away from Israel. And Moshe said unto the judges of Israel, slay you every one his men that were joined unto Baal Peor. And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moshe, and in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand.
Now, what he is about to do is bring forth atonement. Go ahead.
And he went after the man of Israel into the tent, and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman through her belly. So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel.
So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel when he made this sacrifice of them. Remember what the law said. When the land is defiled, it can only be cleansed by the blood of them that defiled it. Now, this is where this gets interesting in dealing with the direction of the Torah, because this says that this is this Midianite woman that have brought forth this plague. So this helps some of our people who will read part of these things and say, no foreigner has anything to do with Israel, and we need to get them out of here. Go ahead.
You know, when you look at that situation, you look back and somebody could have went, well, what was wrong with her? Moshe was married to a Midianite.
We've got to get there, brother.
And those that died in the plague were 20 and 4,000. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, has turned my wrath away from the children of Israel, while he was zealous for my sake among them. And I consumed not the children of Israel in my jealousy.
I consumed them not because he took care of this business. Go ahead.
Wherefore say, behold, I give unto him my covenant of peace.
Now he has a covenant of peace and an everlasting priesthood because he took care of that business. Go ahead.
And he shall have it, and his seed after him, even the covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because he was zealous for his Elohim, and made an atonement for the children of Israel.
Right, because Yahweh said if he didn't take care of this business, that plague was going to keep killing them off. Go ahead.
Now the name of the Israelite that was slain, even that was slain with the Midianitish woman, was Zimri, the son of Salu, a prince of a chief house among the Simeonites. And the name of the Midianitish woman that was slain was Cosbi, the daughter of Zur. He was head over a people and of a chief house in Midian.
Now, there's certain ways to get listed in the book. I wish not to get in the book that way. That's just, everybody like will say, my baby name in the Bible. That ain't how I want my name in the Bible. Go ahead.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, vex the Midianites and smite them, for they vex you with their wiles.
Vexed the Midianites. Now Yahweh spake unto Moshe. See, this is where the direction of the Torah, the direction of Yahweh can get a tad bit confusing if you're not watching all the twists and turns. Because he's telling him this. Vex the Midianites. Smite them. For they are drawing you away with the stuff that they do. Go ahead.
For they vex you with their wiles, wherewith they have beguiled you in the matter of Peor, and in the matter of Cosbi, the daughter of a prince of Midian, their sister, which was slain in the day of the plague for Peor's sake.
So then now we have to deal with some things. Let's go to Exodus chapter 2. Exodus chapter 2, and let's read verses 11 through 22.
Verse 11. And it came to pass in those days when Moshe was grown, that he went out unto his brethren, and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian, and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said unto him that did the wrong, Wherefore smiteth you your fellow? And he said, Who made you a prince and a judge over us? Intend you to kill me, as you killed the Egyptian? And Moshe feared, and said, Surely this thing is known.
This lets you know that there's always somebody watching. Now he looked before he looked. He looked. He didn't see nobody. Then he went on and did him in and hid him. And immediately, wherever this dude was, he saw the whole thing. Oh, you gonna kill me like you did that Egyptian? Hey, what was you? I look. Right. Go ahead.
Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moshe. But Moshe fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian.
Now, you mean to say, now he gonna ask him to go and kill some people later, but he done drove him to, I mean, he ain't got no choice but to run in the foreigners. All his people are captive in Egypt. So he then runs him out of Egypt. He ain't got no choice but to run and live amongst foreigners. Go ahead.
And he sat down by a well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and filled the troughs to water their father's flock.
Now, this could give some people a gift to not take care of this business, because he has now lived with these people. You have to watch how Yahweh dealt with Moshe. It says Moshe was one of the meekest men on the earth. Why? Because he allowed Yahweh to direct his life. And understand, he lives amongst the Egyptians and then had to go and pronounce plagues on the very people he lived with. He has lived with Midian and ends up marrying one of these women, then is ordered to go in there and go to war with the very people. Now, how many people are able to go to war with their white people? Tell the truth, shame the devil. Come on now. Come on. Say, look, I'm going to get you to marry Sister Jones, and then I want you to go there and go to war with the Joneses. No. Because I got to go back home with Dota Jones over here. Go ahead.
And the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moshe stood up and helped them, and watered their flock. And when they came to tell Reuel, their father, he said, How is it that you're come so soon today?
And you're going to find this name listed about 3 different times between the father. And if you look in the, all the names are different in the Septuagint, because they spell them all different. But it is so many, it's different versions of this name. But go ahead.
And they said, An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us, and watered the flock.
And understand, they thought he was an Egyptian. This is what he was dressed like. But this is Hebrew. So when somebody tell me that they are the children of Israel, I have to then pull up the picture of ancient Egyptians, not them people you got in Egypt now. And I find them to be jet black. And they thought he was an Egyptian. Same thing they said to Saul. They said, ain't you that Egyptian? He said, no, I ain't no Egyptian. I'm of Israel. In other words, they said, ain't you an Ethiopian? Who do you think the Egyptians were? Ethiopians, part of Sudan, all of this little area right up in there. They had Upper and Lower Egypt. Those were Hamites, who we know of as Africans. He came running out of there. They said, yeah, an Egyptian helped us. When Joseph had all his stuff on, his brother said, oh man, this Egyptian, they don't even know it's their brother. He got on Egyptian clothing. Probably got on everything else that the Egyptians have. He got an Egyptian ring. He had a necklace. They said, oh, clearly he's an Egyptian. But this was their own brother, and they didn't notice. So that means they closely resemble one another. And I don't know how many Jewish people you seen look like an Egyptian. You will never mistake those two. But there's some Ethiopians, sometimes I look and be like, is that one of us? Is that one? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 20. And he said unto his daughters, and where is he? Why is it that you have left the man? Call him, that he may eat bread. And Moshe was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moshe Zipporah, his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And she bare him a son, and he called his name Gershom. For he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land.
I have been a stranger in a strange land, and he named him Gershom. All right, did you finish that?
Verse 22.
All right. Now let's go to 1 Chronicles 23. So there are rules in Israel, and then there are exceptions that we have to deal with inside of those rules. 1 Chronicles 23, and let's read verses 1 through 15.
Verse 1. So when David was old and full of days, he made Shlomo his son king over Israel. And he gathered together all the princes of Israel with the priests and the Levites. Now the Levites were numbered from the age of 30 years and upward, and their number by their polls, man by man, was 38,000, of which 24,000 were to set forward the work of the house of Yahweh, and 6,000 were officers and judges. Moreover, 4,000 were porters, and 4,000 praised Yahweh with the instruments which I made, said David, to praise therewith.
So he has divided them into this work. Go ahead.
And David divided them into courses among the sons of Levi, namely Gershon, Kohath, and Merari.
So once again, the basis of this priesthood along the line of these sons. Go ahead.
Of the Gershonites were Laadin and Shimei. The sons of Laadin, the chief was Yahiel and Zatham, and Yoel, 3. The sons of Shimei, Shilemith, and Haziel, and Haran, 3. These were the chief of the fathers of Laadin. And the sons of Shimei were Yahath, Zinah, and Yeush, and Beri. These 4 were the sons of Shimei. And Yahath was the chief, and Ziza the second. Both Yeush and Beriah had not many sons, therefore they were in one reckoning, according to their father's house. The sons of Kohath, Amram, Izhar, Hebron, and Uzziel, 4. The sons of Amram, Aaron, and Moshe. And Aaron was separated, that he should sanctify the most holy things, he and his sons forever, to burn incense before Yahweh, to minister unto him, and to bless in his name forever.
All right, now pay attention. Go ahead.
Now concerning Moshe, the man of Elohim, his sons were named of the tribe of Levi.
His sons were named of the tribe of Levi. Understand, his sons came from a Midianite woman. Go ahead.
The sons of Moshe were Gershom and Eleazar.
All right. So then that's something that we then have to understand. So now let's go back. Let's go to Numbers 31. See, when Yahweh calls somebody to be a servant, do understand they earn their place. And people might look at Moshe and say, man, this man a hypocrite. Oh, Yahweh make him earn his place. Numbers 31, let's read verses 1 through 18.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Avenge the children of Israel of the Midianites. Afterward shall you be gathered unto your people. And Moshe spake unto the people, saying, Arm some of yourselves unto the war, and let them go against the Midianites, and avenge Yahweh of Midian.
Right. Now, you have to wonder if some other people were a little partial, and because they're looking at who he's married to. So maybe they don't want to fully do this job because they think, they want to be loyal to him. Go ahead.
Of every tribe 1,000, throughout all the tribes of Israel, shall you send to the war. So there were delivered out of the thousands of Israel 8,000 of every tribe, 12,000 armed for war. And Moshe sent them to the war, 8,000 of every tribe. Them and Phinehas the son of Eleazar the priest, to the war with the holy instruments and the trumpets to blow in his hand. And they warred against the Midianites, as Yahweh commanded Moshe, and they slew all the males.
All right, they slew all the males. The seed follows the males. Go ahead.
And they slew the kings of Midian, beside the rest of them that were slain, namely Evi and Rechem and Zur, and Hur and Reba, 5 kings of Midian. Balaam also the son of Beor they slew with the sword. And the children of Israel took all the women of Midian captives, and their little ones, and took the spoil of all their cattle.
And the children of Israel took all the women of Midian captives. Now this is going to cause some concern. Go ahead.
And all their flocks and all their goods. And they burnt all their cities wherein they dwelt, and all their goodly castles with fire. And they took all the spoil and all the prey, both of men and of beasts. And they brought the captives and the prey and the spoil unto Moshe and Eleazar the priest, and unto the congregation of the children of Israel, unto the camp of the plains of Moab, which are by Jordan near Jericho. And Moshe and Eleazar the priest and all the princes of the congregation went forth to meet them without the camp.
Mm-hmm.
And Moshe was angry with the officers of the host, with the captains over thousands and captains over hundreds, which came from the battle.
He was angry. Go ahead.
And Moshe said unto them, Have you saved all the women alive?
Have you saved all the women alive? What y'all doing? Go ahead.
Behold, these caused the children of Israel, through the counsel of Balaam, to commit trespass against Yahweh in the matter of Peor, and there was a plague among the congregation of Yahweh. Now therefore, kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that has known man by lying with him.
Right. So only the little females, all of those that have they saved the women and the children. He said, no. All them of age got to go. Go ahead.
But all the women children that have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves.
Keep alive for what?
Yourselves.
Keep alive for yourselves. Go ahead.
32 or continue?
Jump to verse 32.
And the booty, being the rest of the prey which the men of war had caught, was 600,000 and 70,000 and 5,000 sheep. And 70,000 beeves, and 1,000 asses.
Right. Now remember our communication that says in 3 generations, if you marry one foreigner, a man, in 3 generations, they ain't gonna even be Israel. Now I want you to Keep reading it. Go ahead.
And 32,000 persons in all, of women that had not known man by lying with him.
So 32,000 Midianite women joined Israel. So according to what everybody else thinks, we shouldn't even be Israel no more. Right. That's way more than 3 generations, 32,000. See, what happens is people don't understand how military campaigns work. Each time they go to war, they're going to lose some people. They end up then gathering soldiers from the place that they just fought. Go ahead. That was it. That was it right there. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 21. See, remember the first part about that says gather them for yourselves. So what were they doing? That means somebody has to raise these little ones. Understand, they had prearranged marriages. So you could see how one could say, all right, I'm going to take this little girl for a wife for my son and raise that little girl over there. Deuteronomy chapter 21, and let's read verses 10 through 17.
When you goeth forth to war against your enemies, and Yahweh your Elohim has delivered them into your hands, and you have taken them captive, and seized among the captives a beautiful woman, and has a desire unto her, that you would have her to your wife.
Right. Now see, people said that this ain't legal. This is Yahweh's law. But you have people speaking from their emotions and don't understand Yahweh's law. But what you think, feel, and believe don't mean a hill of beans to Yahweh. Go ahead.
And you shall bring her home to your house, and he shall shave her head, and she shall shave her head, and pare her nails. And she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in your house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that you shall go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. And it shall be, if you have no delight in her, then you shall let her go whither she will. But you shall not sell her at all for money. You shall not make merchandise of her, because you have humbled her.
Because you have humbled her. Once you have dealt with her in a sexual manner, you may not do some other things. See, this is the law of Yahweh that he has given unto us so that we don't go outside the boundaries and do some things that we ought not do. So once you cross a line, there's a way in which things must be done after that. Go ahead.
If a man have 2 wives, one beloved and another hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, and if the firstborn son be hers that was hated, then it shall be, when he makes his sons to inherit that which he has, that he may not make the son of the beloved firstborn before the son of the hated, which is indeed the firstborn. But he shall acknowledge the son of the hated for the firstborn, by giving him a double portion of all that he has. For he is the beginning of his strength, the right of the firstborn is his.
So then we see that the inheritance cannot be moved around. But what's sad is in there, why would he even have a wife that was hated in the first place? But we all know that you can't make anybody operate a certain way. Let's go to Numbers chapter 36. Numbers 36, and let's read verses 1 through 9.
And the chief fathers of the families of the children of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the families of the sons of Joseph, came there and spake before Moshe and before the princes, the chief fathers of the children of Israel.
Right, because there was, first of all, the daughters of Zelophehad had went and said, our father has no sons. And we have land. And there's not a law to say that we should receive this land. We need a law written to make sure that we get our father's land. And they said, yes, it should go to those daughters because there are no sons to pass that land on to. Why was that a question? Like we said in the beginning, the seed follows the male, which is where the inheritance go, because the male will always be in the same family. Women will marry into other families. That's just how it's set up. So now, because there were no sons, that land was given unto those daughters. But now those men have now come up with a question. Go ahead.
And they said, Yahweh commanded my master to give the land for an inheritance by lot to the children of Israel. And my master was commanded by Yahweh to give the inheritance of Zelophehad, our brother, unto his daughters. And if they be married to any of the sons of the other tribes of the children of Israel, then shall their inheritance be taken from the inheritance of our fathers, and shall be put to the inheritance of the tribe whereunto they are received. So shall it be taken from the lot of our inheritance.
Right, and this in lies where the basis of the comment that was given comes from. So it comes from a genuine place, just without understanding. If they be married, if they are in the tribe of Yosef, and then those women have land, and then they marry somebody from another tribe, that is going to then be inherited into the seed of the man, whatever tribe he's from. So now that means that land has come from this tribe and went to another one. That's the difference when a woman marries someone outside of the tribe, outside of Israel. She has lost all her land rights. Go ahead.
And when the Jubilee of the children of Israel shall be, then shall their inheritance be put onto the inheritance of the tribe whereunto they are received. So shall their inheritance be taken away from the inheritance of the tribe of our fathers. And Moshe commanded the children of Israel according to the word of Yahweh, saying, the tribe of the sons of Leoseph hath said well. This is the thing which Yahweh does command concerning the daughters of Zelophehad, saying, let them marry to whom they think best. Only to the family of the tribe of their father shall they marry. So shall not the inheritance of the children of Israel remove from tribe to tribe. For every one of the children of Israel shall keep himself to the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers. And every daughter that possesses an inheritance in any tribe of the children of Israel shall be wife unto one of the family of the tribe of her father, that the children of Israel may enjoy every man the inheritance of his fathers. Neither shall the inheritance remove from one tribe to another tribe, but every one of the tribes of the children of Israel shall keep himself to his own inheritance.
And this is the basis for those things, period, that Israel was supposed to remain with Israel. But there are also exceptions given from within inside of that law. So if we just go from one thing and not deal with the other thing, you end up making a whole lot of people outside of Israel because we've taken one part of that law. And what happens is when we read this in its entirety, then people think that I am justifying outside marriage. I never dated anybody outside of my ethnicity, so I don't know, what they think I'm promoting. What I promote is the law of Yahweh, my Elohim. I don't just read things that may agree with what I like, what I think, and what I feel. What I do is read what thus says Yahweh. And if that ticks you off, if you piss, get a diaper. Go ahead, bro.
That was it.
Go to Ezekiel chapter 22. That way you can hold some of that.
The funny thing is talking about, staying in your tribe and having to fix this. We don't even know what tribe we belong to.
Exactly. We have no idea the actual tribes that we belong to. So everybody must stay to your tribe. How you going to determine that? Listening to them kooks with walk around in the purple? Them ain't even Hebrews. They ain't got a baptism, not intending on getting a baptism. That is the beginning of the walk of your faith. They don't even have intentions. Them a bunch of Christians marching down the street. I don't care if they got 22,000 or 122,000. It's a bunch of Christians. Go ahead, brother.
Ezekiel chapter 22 and verse 24. Son of man, say unto her, you are the land that is not cleansed, nor rained upon in the day of indignation. There is a conspiracy of her prophets in the midst thereof, like a roaring lion ravening the prey. They have devoured souls, they have taken the treasure and precious things, they have made her many widows in the midst thereof. Her priests have violated my law, and have profaned mine holy things. They have put no difference between the holy and profane.
And Yahweh was very specific when it came to the priests about their marriage and things like that. So not knowing that, a lot of times we take one thing and apply it unto everything. Yahweh was pretty serious about that business. Go ahead.
Neither have they showed difference between the unclean and the clean, and have hid their eyes from my Sabbaths, and I am profaned among them. Her princes in the midst thereof are like wolves ravening the prey, to shed blood and to destroy souls, to get dishonest gain. And her prophets have daubed them with untempered mortar, seeing vanity, and divining lies unto them, saying, thus says the Adonai Yah, when Yahweh has not spoken. The people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery, and have vexed the poor and needy. Yea, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully. And I sought for a man among them that should make up the hedge, and stand in the gap before me for the land, that I should not destroy it. But I found none.
Right. Yea, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully. Go ahead.
Therefore have I poured out mine indignation upon them. I have consumed them with the fire of my wrath. Their own way have I recompensed upon their heads, says the Adonai Yah.
Right. And I have heard some Hebrewish people talk about what they were going to do to the stranger and how they were going to mistreat them and whatnot. And then the brother himself was like I said, Hebrewish. He was a stranger himself. But he gonna mistreat some other stranger. Now, ain't that what? That's a dog that don't forgot how to bark. Ezra chapter 2. Yeah, we're gonna do this to the stranger, and we're gonna do this. Like, you're a stranger yourself. Why don't that encourage you to have some compassion? But they're gonna prove their Hebrewness by being harsh to other individuals. Something wrong with that. Ezra chapter 2, and we're going to read verses 58 through 62.
All the Nethinims and the children of Shlomo's servants were 392. And these were they which went up from Tel Melah, Tel Harsa, Cherub, Adan, and Immer, but they could not show their father's house and their seed, whether they were of Israel. The children of Deliah, the children of Tobiah, the children of Nekad, 652. And of the children of the priests, the children of Habiah, the children of Kaz, the children of Barzillai, which took a wife of the daughters of Barzillai, the Gileadite, and was called after their name.
Was called after their name. Go ahead.
These sought their register among those that were reckoned by genealogy, but they were not found. Therefore were they, as polluted, put from the priesthood.
Right, because their lineage could not be shown according to the male line, they were not allowed to be within the priesthood. Go ahead. That was it?
Yep.
Now let's go to Hebrews chapter 7 and let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Now, brother, you got here just in time, didn't you? My brother got here just in time for the last scripture. Now why the hell was that door not locked? We're going to have to talk about that, brother. That door supposed to be locked 15 minutes after we start. But we'll talk about that. Hebrews chapter 7, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High Elohim, who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave a tenth part of all, first being by interpretation king of righteousness, and after that also king of Salem, which is king of peace, without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the Son of Elohim, abides a priest continually.
Right. So when people tell you that they are a priest after the order of Melchizedek, they telling you they're going to live forever. That's the only way you're going to be a priest after the order of Melchizedek. And the very one that was telling me they were going to mistreat some foreigners was the same one that was talking about they was a priest after the order of Melchizedek. You found one strange doctrine following another. And no matter what we can do, every time we got this person out of one strange doctrine, we looked up and they was in the corner with another strange doctrine. It's like, man, we can't keep you from dealing with strange doctrine. They were just attracted to strange doctrine. The stranger it was, the more attracted they were to it. Go ahead.
Now consider how great this man was, unto whom even the patriarch Abraham gave the tenth of the spoils. And verily they that were of the sons of Levi, who received the office of the priesthood, have a commandment to take tithes of the people according to the law, that is, of their brethren, though they come out of the loins of Abraham. But he whose descent is not counted from them received tithes of Abraham, and blessed him that had the promises. And without all contradiction, the less is blessed of the better. And here men that die receive tithes, but there he received them, of whom it is witness that he lives. And as I may so say, Levi also, who received tithes, paid tithes in Abraham, for he was yet in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him.
This is some pretty deep stuff. And as I may so say, Levi also, who received tithes, paid tithes in Abraham, for he was yet in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him. So he getting credit for things that he did when he was still a tickling his daddy. Go ahead.
If therefore perfection were by the Levitical priesthood, for under it the people received the law, what further need was there that another priest should rise after the order of Melchizedek, and not be called after the order of Aaron? For the priesthood being changed, there is made of necessity a change also of the law.
And you have to take note right there, because what people going to say is the priesthood was done away with. That said priesthood changed. That does not say priesthood done away with. And this is what you're going to get from some of those strange individuals. See, the priesthood was done away with. That's a lie. That said priesthood was changed. It went from the ability of just being Levi to then be opened up unto other tribes, mainly the tribe of Yehuda, because that was the tribe that Yahshua was going to come from. Because that would then make him not only a priest, but also a king. The kings come out of Yehuda, the priests come out of Levi. He was able to be both. Change in the law, not doing away from the law. So you have to learn how to catch those little slick sayings when you're talking to people. Well, you know, the law was done away with. You know, Christ did away with the law. Where you get that from? How could he be a God, king, high priest if the law was done away with? Go ahead.
Verse 13. For he of whom these things are spoken pertains to another tribe, of which no man gave attendance at the altar. For it is evident that our Adonai sprang out of Yehuda, of which tribe Moshe spake nothing concerning priesthood. And if it is yet far more evident, for that after the similitude of Melchizedek there arise another priest.
And it says, for it is evident that our Adonai sprang out of Yehuda, of which tribe Moshe spake nothing concerning priesthood. So they know that that's a pretty big deal, because he had not mentioned any priest coming out of Yehuda. But he did tell them that Yahweh was going to raise up somebody like unto him. Him shall you hear. But he didn't go into the other details. Go ahead.
Who was made not after the law of a carnal commandment, but after the power of an endless life. For he testifies, you are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. For there is verily a disannulling of the commandment going before for the weakness and unprofitableness thereof. For the law made nothing perfect, but the bringing in of a better hope did, by the which we draw near unto Elohim. And inasmuch as not without an oath he was made priest. For those priests were made without an oath, but this with an oath by him that said unto him, the Adonai swear and will not repent, you are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. By so much was Yahshua made a surety of a better testament. And they truly were many priests, because they were not suffered to continue by reason of death. But this man, because he continues ever, has an unchangeable priesthood, wherefore he is able also to save them to the uttermost that come unto Elohim by him, seeing he ever lives to make intercession for them. For such an high priest became us, who is holy, harmless, undefiled, separate from sinners, and made higher than the heavens, who needs not daily, as those high priests, to offer up sacrifice, first for his own sins, and then for the people's. For this he did once, when he offered up himself.
Right, because all the other high priests always had to offer up sacrifices or prayer for themselves. Then they could go and deal with the things for the people. Go ahead.
For the law makes men high priests which have infirmity, but the word of the oath, which was since the law, makes the Son, who is consecrated forevermore.
And according to this Torah, there is a definite connection between Yahshua and this so-called African American, or whatever the new term they calling us this year. I've been hearing a lot, Black American. You know, we went from Afro to African to the last time I was watching CNN, they kept referring to Black Americans now. So, you know, it changed. You know, we keep staying here. Ain't no telling what we're gonna be. You know what I'm saying? It changed every few years. But there's definitely a connection, and we cannot be bashful in asserting ourselves and claiming those things that are connections. Because I guarantee you, if there were biblical connections with the Ish and the synagogue of Satan, they'd be up in our face with a book every day. Have you read this? All in our face. Read this. Read that. But all they got to do is keep referring us to some event, because they don't have anything in this book. So what they're going to do is downplay you showing anything out of this book, because they don't have anything to offer a rebuttal with. But then what we do is stay out of the book, because they have told you that you're making it up. But stranger things are going to happen the closer we get to the redemption of the children of Israel. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. We will do it's 3:30, so we're going to do our trivia. We normally do it at what? 5:30. Let's do 6, because we're starting a little late. So we'll do trivia at 6. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.